Hello everyone, I'm here today to do my July wrap-up. It's actually the 31st of July, but I don't think I'm going to read anything much more, so I thought I would wrap up now. So I read 13 books in July, which is amazing, and I have finished my Ancient TBR, and before July I had 20 books in my Storygraph TBR. Now I have 23 because I have added quite a little bit of things, but still a manageable number, so I'm still happy with it. And I also completed the TBR that I had set up for myself. So the first book that I read was Tom of Sand by Chịkọdịlị Sri. This is a reread for me, and I enjoyed it a lot more the second time round. I have a vlog for it if you want to check that out. But basically this follows this old woman from India, and we follow her like getting to know this woman that is from a lower caste and getting a friendship out of it, and also at the end of the book is also looking at partition and what happened there. And because I knew what to expect from it a little bit more, I did enjoy it a little bit more as well, and appreciated the language and all of that. So yes, I'm very happy that I decided to reread this one. The second book that I read this month is The Old Ways by Robert Macfarlane. This was for my post-wordathon challenge for punctuation, because it has subtitles and it has like 2 dots between the subtitle. And this was about basically about walking in the countryside in the UK. And I found it very meditative and very calming, but it was more about the effect that walking has on people than about the places that he visited. I was expecting a little bit of more on the places that he visited. And though I enjoyed the reading experience, I was hoping there was a bigger picture that a point that he wanted to make, and I didn't feel that there was one. So even though I did enjoy the reading experience, I don't think this is going to stay with me, and I don't think this is something that I'm going to remember for really long. Next one I finished is The Hunger of Women by Marosia Castaldi, translated from the Italian by Jamie Richards. And this is about a woman and her husband has died, and she is now fully embracing her lesbian self. And one of the ways that she connects with the other women is by food, by cooking for them. And so there is lots of very large descriptions of food in this. And we also explore the fact that she has a daughter, and the daughter does feel some sort of jealousy, not of the relationship itself, but of the time and the love that the mom is giving to all these women, and also of the food that she's cooking, the effort that she's putting, and there's the relationships that she is not getting. I did really enjoy the narration style, and I like that this was not so much, let's say, a discovery of her sexuality. It was like she was fully embracing it, but she knew before. And yeah, I overall really enjoyed it. It was very easy to read and very punchy, and I really enjoyed this one. And the next one I finished is Funny in Farsi by Firoozeh Dumas, and as the subtitles say, this is a memoir of growing up Iranian in America. So the author moved to America when she was, I think, 7 years old. And then we see her trying to fit in both worlds. So she obviously wanted to embrace some of the American things, but she also has a big sense of family, and the way that her parents act is very different from American people. And so she kind of talks about the differences. Some of it was quite funny, and some of it did have a interesting commentary about how immigrants are treated in the US, especially before and after the 9/11, because she moved before 9/11, and she says that everyone was very welcoming then, and she was very happy, and then she really saw a big shift after 9/11, and that was very interesting. But yeah, the humor and the stories were a little bit too simple for me. They were anecdotes that the kind of anecdotes that I will tell. So it was nice, but it was not like super special. The next one I read was Kairos by Jenny Erpenbeck, which won the International Booker in 2024. And this is a story of a woman and a man. The woman is a lot younger than the man, and the man is married to someone else, and they live in the 80s in Berlin. So at the end of the book, we see the Berlin Wall coming down. And I did like the atmosphere of Berlin in the 80s and the different cultures, if you want, that were there, like the communist side and the Western side, and the ways that things were different in each side. But I did not care about the story. I did not care about the characters. I did not care about the relationship. And so this was a bit of a flop for me, unfortunately. The next one I did enjoy a lot more, and that was You Dreamed of Empires by Álvaro Enrique. And this is a story of the Spanish arriving to Mexico from the Mexican side. So the story itself doesn't change. The Spanish still take over at the end, but it is a lot more interesting to see how impressive and how royal the cities in Mexico were, and how developed the cultures were there. All the cultural customs and things that they did that are never mentioned, and also it's funny to say how they talk about the Spanish as they were British and they didn't clean and stuff like that, and like the Mexicans were a lot more clean and organized than the Spanish were. So that was a very interesting take on it, and it was very funny. It has a lot of humor in it, and it was very funny, and I really enjoyed just the change of perspective. I thought it was very interesting. It's not that the book portrays the Mexica as perfect. Moctezuma is shown as a little bit of a drug addict. They don't call it that, but it is kind of like the idea that you get. But it was still very interesting to read and very, very funny. The next one that I read is The Factory by Hiroko Oyamada. I read this in Dutch because that's what my library had. But this is not quite short stories, but it is stories of people that work in this factory, and they work this basically bullshit jobs, jobs that don't need to exist, that are just, it seems that they have been designed to organize people into jobs, not because the actual jobs have any meaning to them. And that commentary was interesting. There was also a little bit of commentary about how certain companies make everything so easy around you that you then never have to leave, and how that is a little bit problematic, to say the least. So I did like the commentary, but the stories themselves, like the plot or whatever you want to call it, was not really there. So it was okay. It was fun. The next book I read was All System Reds by Martha Wells. This is a very short science fiction about this murder bot that hacks his own motherboard. But instead of becoming like this murderous robot, he just watches TV all day, basically. And then something happens and he has to act on it. I thought the idea was better than the execution. This read a little bit like an action movie. I didn't connect with the characters, and I didn't think that the story was any good. I think the concept was good, but that was the thing that I enjoyed the most about this. The next book that I read was Marianna Sirca by Grazia Deledda, translated by Graham Anderson from the Italian. And this is a very classical story. It has been recently translated, but this was written in the early 1900s, I think, 15. Yeah, I cannot find it, but something like that. And it was about this woman that is fairly rich, but it was brought up in a very strict family. And then when she's older and her dad died, she decides that she's gonna marry this servant that she likes, and the whole community is against it. And there's a lot of talk about social class and going against that, but also there was some interesting commentary about the way that she grew up so strictly and how that actually resulted in her choosing this guy instead of someone that people would have considered a bit more suitable. And also the question that if she was really in love with him or it was just a matter of trying to escape the molds, which I thought it was very interesting conversations. It was not a very romanticized story, which I also liked, but at the end of the day, it is a love story, sort of, between these two people, very classical love story, and I'm just not into those. So this was not for me, but I think that it had some very interesting points. The next book that I want to talk about is Greek Lessons by Kang. So this is about a woman that is going through a lot, a divorce, and her son is going with the father, and then the man of this story is going blind, and they both have this connection of learning Greek or knowing Greek, as like this passion for the Greek language, basically, and we see their relationship develop. I thought that this was very well written. The like sentence to sentence level writing was very good. But this changed perspective from the man to the woman all the time, and we did not have indications that was happening, and so it took me a while to get into like understand that was what was happening. So even though I admire this, it was not my kind of story, if you will. And then the last books that I read were I reread the Nevermoor first three books. I am actually currently reading the first and the fourth one that came out recently, but I had already read these three a long time ago, maybe 5-6 years ago, and I do have a blog rereading these ones and reading this one if you want more details about them, but I'm really enjoying them. So those are all the books that I read this month, and the things that I am planning to read for August. I am already like 20 pages into Silverboard, so I will be reading this for sure. And then for the Buzzwordathon challenge, I'm going to be reading Troubles with My Aunt by Graham Greene. The buzzword of this month is with, so this one counts. And then I have a couple of book clubs. So my in real life book club is reading Rivers of London by Ben Aaronovitch, which is, I think, kind of a fantasy mystery situation. And then I have also joined the Gumption Club from Lina Norris. If you don't know, you should check her out. And they are reading 2 different books for 2 different like sub book clubs they have. One of them is Dazzling, and the other one is The Books That Devour My Father. So the Books That Devour My Father is for like the world reading around the world book club that they have. So that's for Portuguese, and the other one is, I think it is African or African diaspora. And I have ordered both, but they are not here yet. And then because I finished my ancient TBR, I don't have to read the oldest or the longest book in my TBR anymore. So that's clear. So these plus those other 2 are the ones that I'm planning to read next month, plus whatever else comes for Her Kid. I will keep you updated in Her Kid in a separate video, vlog, whatever. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have read any of these books. Until next video, bye!